Thank you for the opportunity to share Atrin with you. We're excited, and what we hope you will get out of it is that Atrin has been in this field for decades, and you're going to see the fruit of our labor with emphasis on the progress made in the past 6 months. We have been, it's an oncology company focusing on synthetic lethality by targeting DNA damage and response, which is a pretty hot field. And as Zach is going to show you our comps, they are north of $1 billion in market cap. And our goal is to switch from clinical ready to a clinical stage company. And that's what this race is all about, and get us through the IPO. We did sign a contract today with one of the largest banks to go to do the crossover to the IPO. And we're very excited. We're very excited about the past. We're very excited about the future. And the foundation of the company is the 3 platforms technologies that are helping us in drug discovery and development. We did come out of the University of Pennsylvania in 2012. We were the first one to publish that this new target called ATR is a good target for cancer therapy. And that's what paved the field for the ATR. Our FDA been approved our drug. It's been approved just recently. The sites are ready. And we are looking to start the human clinical study the first half of 2022. Next, thank you. And it does take a village, and drug development is very complicated. What we're hoping you get out of this is also how dedicated the people are. Please go on our website and look at the resume. The one person to note here is Joe Vaca. Joe was the head of medicinal chemistry for Merck for over 20 years, and he's leading our drug discovery. He's also the inventor of Crixivan and other drugs for HIV and other drugs that with real money behind them. Next slide, please. And thank you. And as you go through our KOL, you see that these are leaders in the field or backing the company up, from Andy Anderson to Dana-Farber to UPenn and others. Thank you. And this is the breadth of our company. These are the essence, and you can see the lead drug, ATR. This is an oral drug that is to target solid tumors, ovarian, prostate, and others. This drug was approved by the FDA recently, and they were very supportive of our clinical protocol. One of the things they encouraged us and actually persistent on doing is that we changed the age of the patients to 12 years and older. And they did not ask us to do any additional toxicology work. So we're going to be starting with a single agent monotherapy, and then add on to the combination right behind it. The second program, also a product of our platforms, is a WEE1. WEE1 is a different target for different patient population. So our approach is to build an oncology portfolio of drugs that are either working by themselves as monotherapy, single agents, or synergistic with each other. And the combination is very powerful. As we know, combination is where oncology is heading towards. The third one, the 333, and each and every one of them is a different drug, a different entity, is for a glioblastoma. And this is collaboration that we have with Yale University. Replibiome is one of the platforms that is helping us identifying new PD markers, new patient population, and new genetic markers to target in the clinic. That's on the left. The second platform is a chemistry platform that's making microcycles. And the third one is a biological platform. And each and every one of these platforms react with the other to really improve on the drug development and strengthen our pipeline. And we are on clinicaltrials.gov, and clinical study is approved, and first site is going to be the University of Pennsylvania. Our field has drugs that are selling. For example, olaparib for a different target for PARP was selling just last year $1.8 billion. That's the revenue for that single drug. The second one, niraparib, you can see it's also in the hundreds of millions. Please keep these two in mind as we're going to go back and tell you more about them and how we, by combining these two drugs with our drug, we make it work better. And there also been some deals in our field. In number 2 here, you can see Tesaro being acquired by GSK for $5.1 billion. And that was on a $200 million annual sales. Some data, we are a biotech company. We do need to show that our drug is working. And this is one model, pancreatic cancer, when the drug administered orally, and you can see the difference on the left, mouse that is not being treated versus on the right that has been treated. The second model is for colon cancer, and this is the same thing. You can see the effect of the drug, and on the right, you see no side effects in the intestine, bone marrow, the highly proliferative tissues and organs. And the bottom right is the tumor that we're showing that we're breaking the DNA. That's the green staining. We do have competition. Competition is good. It keeps everybody alert. And it's even better when you are the best in class. Our drug is more potent and more selective than the other companies. And you can see who we're going against. We're going against AstraZeneca, Bayer, EMD Serrano. We were the first one. We believe we have the best ATR inhibitor. There's a strong backup behind it and a very strong portfolio. AstraZeneca and Atrin are the only two companies who have both ATR and WEE1 in their portfolio. This is our clinical design. FDA has been very responsive and very positive with our helping us to improve it. And it's a 3+3 dose escalation and dose expansion. And the KOL really helped us putting this clinical strategy together. A summary for the monotherapy, we're going to jump into the combination. We have the IND approved, we're clinical ready, and we're going to be a clinical stage company as we enter the public market. FDA were very positive. They insisted inclusion of patients that are 12 years and older. That gives us confidence that they back up the program. And we do believe we have a best-in-class ATR inhibitor. Combination is most likely where the field is going because it is increase the efficacy. It can expand on the indication. It can overcome resistance and reduce toxicity. Bottom line, it's going to help companies sell more drugs by targeting a broader patient population in a safer way. Remember the olaparib, $1.8 billion annual sales last year. So that's the blue line. And the red line is our drug, and the combination led to complete response. This body of work got the base scientific poster presented by the MD PhD who did this study. So that was one model with ovarian cancer. Second model is here, and this is with prostate cancer. We do not have the photo of before. The tumor grew to 1 centimeter in size, and then over time just disappeared. 50% of the group treated had the tumor disappeared, and when we drew the drug, it never came back. This is the niraparib with the few $100 million annual sales. And also keep in mind that both drugs had been administered orally. Ours was administered in the morning, and niraparib was administered in the afternoon. We drew the drug. None of the tumors ever came back. These mice really showed good efficacy and synergy between the two drugs. We do have a very strong IP portfolio. Everything owned by the company, everything belongs to the company. There are no royalties, there are no external rights, 4 published, and more to come, because the platform and the knowledge that we accumulate over time is being translated into a strong IP position. And I'm going to hand it to Zach, our CFO. And I do have to apologize that I have to jump off to another call, but please reach out to us, and please, we're more than happy to connect and tell you more about what we do and how we do it. And hopefully you find this investment opportunity positive and to your liking. And I thank you.
Thanks, Oren. So I'd like to talk to you today kind of about the financial impact of everything that Oren's been describing. Keep in mind, we already spoke about the monotherapy market, and now I'm going to show you some numbers from the combination therapies. So if you look at the total potential market size for Atrin 119, when combined with PARP inhibitors, we get a forecasted annual sales of about 1.35 billion in 2027. These are conservative calculations. Happy to go through that in a later meeting, but we've really tried to be speculative in a smart way. Additionally, in combination therapies with chemotherapy, radiotherapies, radiopharmaceuticals, and in agents that exhibit a chemical blackness that had immune checkpoint inhibitors, we get out another $150 million, which would give us a total global sales of 1.5 billion just for combination therapies. Keep in mind, the FDA just approved Atrin for the monotherapies and dose escalation in clinical studies, and that's what we're going to be going after today. So how does the market value synthetic lethality DDR companies? We can see some very interesting things. This is a group of what we think are comparables. And if you look at the first two companies, Repair Therapeutics and Idea Biosciences, these companies went IPO before they had FDA approval for their clinical studies. Atrin has received that in August. So we, in fact, are ahead of both of these companies. Another interesting thing is that the total gross proceeds, if you added these three together for the IPO proceeds, you get to 492 million. And in July of this year, what we can see is that the market cap is 3.68 billion. Additionally, when you look at the IPO market cap versus the market cap of today, it's advanced 116% in the last 2 years. So this really tells you that the capital markets value synthetic lethality DDR companies, and this is a hot area for everything that Oren was just saying. I'm going to kind of summarize. You've gotten a lot of information, and I can only tell you that we have amazing data coming in even this week, and I'd love to follow this up in any sort of meeting later. But generally speaking, what I just told you was that Atrin had, in fact, in August been approved for clinical studies by the FDA. They also came back and they required us to go down to 12 years of age so that we could include orphan cancers in children, which we think sets us up for a fast track by the FDA. That's what they're signaling. You can see by what Oren showed, there's a clear differentiation in safety and efficacy of our drugs, and we are already in advanced talks with pharma over clinical collaborations and potential deals. We do have a robust market of both combination and monotherapies, and that's the thing to remember. The markets are really, really valuing this right now. We have 3 additional programs, think of them as platform drugs that are coming along behind this, plus a lot more in the molecules. We own all of our own molecules, so the IP is exclusively owned by us. There are no obligated royalties or anything that we have to give to others as we develop this. And there is a true commitment to continue developing. Since 2012 to today, we have an amazing bench of molecules, and that's only growing. And what Oren mentioned before with Replibiome and some other things is that we have 3 integrated platforms that make this drug development really spectacular and helps advance this quickly. So in the future, what we can see for liquidity events is either a potential IPO this spring, which we're preparing for in Q1, or potentially a merger. We just don't have visibility, but there is a lot of attention to this class of drugs. So what is the overall opportunity today? Well, we're seeking a $6 million investment in convertible loans to potentially get us into the crossover IPO or merger, and to become an independent clinical research company. Keep in mind that the first 2 companies out of the comparables that we showed you were not as far along as Atrin. So we do think that this is a really good, promising future. So what is the investment? It's a $6 million convertible loan. We have 4.3 million available. There's a 25% discount on these convertible notes to the crossover IPO. So that's a sweetener. There's a 1-year time frame with a 5% interest rate that's convertible to the next equity security. There's a $90 million market cap if there is no deal signed with pharma within the term or it converts, or there's a $125 million cap if we sign with a pharma. That's just part of being in the big markets. But I think it allows a lot of upside for our investors at the same time. Excitingly, we have Daiichi Sankyo as our lead investor, which was amazing to have. And you can see that the proceeds are going to get used to advance our monotherapy dose escalation in our clinical studies. We are preparing for a potential IPO. We've picked the auditor. We've done a lot of the prep work, but we aren't beginning that. We are continuing to patent more and also to protect patents. So that's another use of the proceeds, and then just generally working capital. So I think in conclusion of all this, it's really important to remember that with this investment, it takes Atrin from being a clinical stage company now to being a clinical ready company, and that we are going into actually administering drugs into patients in the next few months as soon as this round is raised. And the capital markets really do value synthetic lethality DDR. It's a new class of drugs, and we haven't seen this before. And the market's hopeful, and the science is there to support that this really is an amazing way to treat cancer. So I think, you know, for that and the fact that Atrin has so much in the pipeline, I'd encourage another meeting. If you see something you like, there's a lot more to go through, but I would encourage you that this is a pretty amazing investment. With that, I'll open to questions.
So I have just time for like one question. Can you talk about, like, so you're based in Philadelphia, has like the University, and your University of Pennsylvania related. Has the University of Pennsylvania invested in this, or any of the different VC funds that are involved with UPenn?
So this was a collaboration originally from UPenn and Wharton Business School. It was developed in their lab. The Replibiome platform that you see is licensed from them, but it was actually invented by Eric Brown and Oren. There is no crossover investment, but they are the first site for our clinical studies. So it'll be UPenn, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and Yale University hospitals. So we are including them, but they don't own any of the IP, and there are no royalties due back to them. But we do plan to include them for the publicity.
Right, and so, but you don't know, you do know that there's like, you know, 4 or 5 different VC funds that are affiliated to UPenn.
Yeah, and so you know, we're in discussions with a lot of VCs right now. I don't think that we're in you know, in direct conversation with them, but we also have you know, much larger VCs that we're approaching you know, outside of the Penn market. It gets a little complicated, I think, only because they're seeing the return from this. So I just don't want to speak on behalf of their investment strategy.
I want to be clear. The therapy you're talking about is not related to CAR T therapy at all, correct?
Okay, so I'm not qualified to speak about that. It is a different therapy. These were developed starting in 2012. So looking at the class of synthetic lethality, ATRN and V1 and the other drugs are a different science than the CAR T. It's all closely related in that it's you know, it's going after cell lethality, if you will.
My understanding is that the CAR T therapy, one of the big failings of it is that it doesn't really work too well on hard tumors yet. So,
right, and that's
you guys are taking a hard tumor approach, which I believe is 90% of all cancers.
It is, but I mean, and to get into another meeting, we're seeing really good early clinical results on some other you know, some other soft cancers as well. But it's not CAR T. You're exactly right, and that's why this is a completely different therapy.
Excellent question. All righty. Did you have a question, Gary?
No.
Okay, fantastic. You were just yawning. Got it. So fantastic. So listen, great information. Thanks so much for coming. I'm sorry that we got cut off a little bit with Oren, but my understanding is talking to investors, so that's always best. So
yeah. We just got squeezed with a bunch of VC meetings today, but really encourage anybody to